You're gonna serve somebody in a booth or on the street. You're gonna serve somebody. Every vote, every voice, every tweet might be the Lord, a dollar, or the folks who can't speak loud. You're gonna serve somebody. So say who you're serving now. They got headlines dressed like heroes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Serve Somebody with Steve and Emily podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Steve Bradshaw, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Emily Hallavy. Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
All right.
Tell us what's on your mind.
Well, so for any new listeners who didn't listen to our first episode, Steve and I shared how we became to have mutual admiration and respect for one another, and that was during a rezoning application for an affordable housing complex called Phoenix Station. And at that time, I had become really passionate about affordable housing and people getting displaced around the MARTA station. And so I formed a group called the Coalition for a Diverse DeKalb with a handful of other people, including a woman named Melissa Manroe. And I'll get back to her in a minute. But part of that was advocating for affordable housing policies, homelessness prevention policies, things of that nature to make sure that everybody had a safe, affordable roof over their head. And so I met Steve. We'd already met, but I went to his office and we talked for maybe 45 minutes, and I pled my case for approval on this development. I left without knowing where he stood on this, but was pleased at the end of that vote that he voted to approve it. And then at the same time, there was an apartment complex behind me that was getting renovated, and another couple hundred residents were getting displaced. And so I reached back out to Steve's office, and we organized a whole night, an event for the tenants in this community to be able to have access to help, whether that be finding jobs, Atlanta legal aid, rehousing opportunities, anything of that nature to help them get rehomed. And so between those two things, I really grew to have great admiration for my friend here, Steve. Um, and back to Melissa Manroe. So Melissa Manroe and I became very close, working together on a lot of these issues. And at the time, she was sitting on the board of Project Community Connections, PCCI, an organization I hadn't heard of yet, but she convinced me to become a member of the board. This was back in 2019, and I've been serving on the board of PCCI ever since. I'm currently vice chair after serving for 2 years as chair previously. And so today I'm really, really grateful and happy to have on as our guest co-CEO Jimiyu Evans, who can share with us what PCCI does and how they're helping make homelessness rare and non-recurring throughout our community. So before we dig in, Jimiyu, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, just thank you. Thank you both for the invitation. I've appreciate the opportunity really just to uplift the work that we do as an organization, but also to celebrate the successes of all the great things we've been able to achieve over the years. And really just looking forward to moving the organization forward, continue to do this good work, and making sure that we produce high outcomes for support of our mission.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Jimiyu. Thanks, Emily, for making it happen and for your good work in this organization. I was just, as you were relaying how we sort of got acquainted with each other, back in those days when people met with me, I never shared what my vote was going to
No,
be.
you were.
But
You're a good poker player, Steve.
But obviously, you made a compelling case. After doing some due diligence on my own, it was easy to be supportive of that. But I'm grateful for your advocacy, And so I'm very grateful that you're here and the work that your organization is doing. So, for the sake of our audience, let's just start with this. What is PCCI? What's your mission? Tell us what you're doing.
Yes. So, Project Community Connections, we are a nonprofit organization based here in Atlanta. And the name tells you a little bit about what we do. We are a community connector. We were incorporated back in 1998 and founded by two of the most largest affordable housing developers at that particular time, Bruce Gunter and the late Lori Mills with Progressive Redevelopment. They founded PCCI as a part of their bigger toolkit of services that they were trying to put together during that time. So they had Progressive Redevelopment that built affordable housing. They had Caring Works, which is our sister organization that provides supports to individuals that are needing permanent supportive housing. And then PCCI came out of the three-legged stool at that time. That's what we called it, as the entity that ran the Resource Opportunity Center.
Mm-hmm.
So the Resource Opportunity Center was one of Atlanta's first one-stop shop for homeless services in downtown Atlanta that was created shortly after the 1996 Olympics had come into Atlanta. And this location really was about creating this one-stop service center that individuals who had housing insecurity could come in and pop in. They could get a meal, they could take a shower, they can drop off their bags, they could see social workers to help address whatever issues that they had. So not only were we connecting the community, we were connecting community partners all under one roof to provide this service. We've evolved since then, and now we are providing a service called rapid rehousing.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we were providing prior to it being coined this national best case practice, and one of the services that's most cost effective in ending someone's homelessness. We were just calling it permanent housing placement at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Individuals and families had some type of episodic homeless situation. We would provide them with a first month's rent and security deposit, and then they would go on their way and be stable and be able to be self-sufficient. As there was continued downturn in the economy and the first financial crisis of my generation occurred around that 2008, 2009 timeframe, rapid rehousing started to be one of the biggest toolkits that was being funded from the federal level and then the local level. So now that's what we do to this date. We try to disrupt the cycles of homelessness by providing housing supports and connections to affordable housing so individuals can be thriving in the communities that they live, work, and play.
Okay, so you used the term rapid rehousing, and for the uninitiated like me, how is rapid rehousing different than any other kind of rehousing? What makes it rapid? In other words, is there a specific time frame around getting people housed? Just expound on that for our audience.
So yes, rapid rehousing from a definition term has three core components. One of the components is providing people connections to affordable housing very quickly. And that time frame generally is anywhere between 30 and 45 days.
Okay.
The second component of it would be the provision of some type of financial assistance. So that would be rent payments, utility payments, security deposits, all those things that individuals need to be able to then transition into permanent housing. And then the last part, which I believe is the most important part, is the support services. You may hear in the field, people may say case management. In the reality, we're not managing cases. We're providing a support service to individuals who are housing insecure and that need connections to resources to help them become more financially stable, but also put them in a place that they can be able to thrive within the communities that they live. So the combination of those three core components is what rapid rehousing is basically defined. And one of the things that I think that we've done well over the years to be able to ride this wave of rapid rehousing is that we've always established a core relationships with landlords. We've That's how we've built our business, which is around having a good relationship with landlords, having the ability to find housing that is affordable for people all throughout the city, all throughout the metro, outside of 285 as well. and helping people connect to those affordable housing options quickly, and then providing those wraparound services to ensure that they can remain in that housing, get access to the funding and employment and jobs that are going to be able to sustain them in their housing going forward.
Okay, understood.
So how many clients do you serve every year?
So it's gone up exponentially over the years that I've been with the organization. So I've been with PCCI for 18 years. When I first started, we were housing a few hundred people a year. Now we're approaching 15 to 1600 people that we house on an annual basis. So the work continues, and it's something that we're proud of having the ability to be able to provide to individuals in the community.
And is that number going up because y'all are now kind of the epicenter of this space, or is it going up because homelessness in Atlanta is rising?
It's going up because there's been more investments into rapid rehousing. So
Okay.
as rapid rehousing has now been coined one of the most affordable tools within your toolkit in homeless services, the federal government and local municipalities have continued to pour in more money to ensure that people have access to these resources to help, as you mentioned, making sure that their homelessness is rare, brief, and really only one time.
hmm So what is the state of homelessness in Atlanta? Do you think it is rising, or um, are we are we making this seemingly intractable problem solvable? What does it look like right now?
So every year in major cities across the country, there's something that happens that's called a pick count. It's called a point in time count. And every point in time count is ran by a COC, or continuum of care, in those particular jurisdictions. HUD requires that, so Housing for Urban Development requires that you do a pick count every other year. In Atlanta, our continuum of care, Partners for Home, has been doing them every year. And that gives basically the local stakeholders and the federal government a clear understanding of what those trends are related to individuals that are experiencing homelessness. How many people are literally on the street that are unhoused? How many people are in your shelters? And we then, congregate all that data and produce some type of trends that help support what the case is and what the need is in those particular communities. So for Atlanta specifically, and let me go back a little bit. The count is a physical count, right? So there are people that are literally out on the street. They are outside of their vehicles. They're counting individuals, engaging with people, providing resources. So this is just not a count to say, "Hey, Steve, what's your homeless situation? Thanks for letting me know. I'm on to the next person." We're actually engaging with individuals, providing them resources, getting them connected to the pipeline of services that can help in their homeless situation. But for Atlanta specifically, from 2024 to 2025, there was a 1% increase
Mm.
in homelessness. And that 1% is only representing about less than 30 people in the spike. So what we're seeing is that we may have hit a plateau at this point, because if you start looking at the subpopulations of homeless services or individuals that are counted, we had a 9% reduction in individuals who are chronic homeless, right?
Okay.
And individuals that are chronically homeless are individuals who have a long homeless length, right? So 12 months or longer, or multiple episodes of homelessness that equal 12 months, and a disabling condition, whether
Mhm.
that be mental health, physical disability, something of the like. So the combination of those two things indicate when someone is chronically homeless. That number went down by 9%.
That's amazing.
You have a 6% reduction in youth that are experiencing homelessness, and you have a 3% reduction in veterans that are experiencing homelessness. So while we are seeing a slight uptick, less than 30 people in the city of Atlanta, these other subpopulations are seeing a decrease. Here's the asterisk. We saw a 14% increase in family homelessness.
Mm.
And I think that is an access issue. maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, HUD decided that they are going to create this system called coordinated entry. And what coordinated entry did was it created a entry point, no wrong door entry point. There, if you're experiencing homelessness, there's a specific place that you can go in order for you to receive services. And once you get there, you have to complete a vulnerability assessment. It's called a VI SPDAT, Vulnerability Index Service Determination Assessment Tool. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? So you have to complete this assessment, and this assessment scores and ranks you. And based on that score, then you are tiered into who gets served first. And when they introduced that type of prioritization, it pushed all of our families that may have just been episodically homeless, that may have been living on the edge before they would have gotten served. Now you've got the subset of individuals who are not getting served because they're not scoring high enough on this vulnerability index tool. So it's clear that the system works because we have a reduction in chronic, we have a reduction in youth and veterans, but now we have put our families in a vulnerable situation because they're not scoring high enough on this tool. So it's a little flawed, but I believe that we're going to start to see some other services like prevention that will be able to address the needs of those families.
So you mentioned the point in time count. I participated in a point in time count 2 years ago. I will tell you, it's very eye-opening to be out on the street at night and interfacing with these people who are homeless. I learned a lot. It was very humbling. So anyway, moving forward. So tell us how did COVID impact the work that PCCI is doing, and are there still residual impacts from the pandemic?
So COVID really helped to catapult more work for our organization. COVID money, the American Rescue Plan, those type of dollars got poured into communities across the country, and it really allowed for folks to be more innovative with what type of services that they can provide. How can we do things different than what we were doing before? And what we learned from that particular time frame was that we have to come up with new products in order for people to want to engage with the services that we're providing. And some of those new products that came about were these ideas of street to home, like a real linear approach to how we're resolving people's homelessness, which is taking them straight from the streets and putting them straight into an apartment. Or traditionally, if you were experiencing homelessness, you may go from the street to transitional housing or the street to a shelter. And many people may not want to go into a congregate shelter situation where there's this mass of people that are in this one space and you have no privacy. So one of the things that we did in Atlanta and DeKalb and some other counties in the metro was that they started utilizing hotels that were underutilized or that could not lease up those or not lease up, but rent those particular hotel rooms because COVID was around. It didn't really make sense. So we were using hotels to get people off the street and put them into these hotels temporarily while then we worked on a permanent housing plan. So I think we saw a lot of progress during that particular time frame because we were able to utilize the money in a different way and provide a product that people actually were willing to accept. So it grew our organization, quite frankly. We went from a smaller organization, $4 to $5 million organization, to a $17 million organization at the peak of COVID. And we were providing all of the financial assistance on behalf of our Atlanta COC Partners for Home. And then there were other community partners that were providing the direct case management and working with the individuals on the street. I think that time really gave us some good lessons learned and really put us in a stronger position moving forward as a city, as a continuum, and then as a representative of the community service providers that are out there doing the good work.
Understood.
There was also kind of the downside of COVID where the eviction
Yes,
um,
moratoriums.
moratoriums happened, which was great until it wasn't great,
You're right.
right? Do you care to talk about that at all?
Yeah, so the eviction moratoriums were stood up with good intentions, but they created a challenge not only for programs like PCCI, affordable housing developers, conventional housing developers. So, we want to preserve people's ability to stay in their homes when financial crisis comes about. But then that also puts a strain on systems and organizations, whether they're nonprofit or for profit, to be able to make sure that they can financially survive and pay their people as well. So it was good intentions, but it created a bigger strain on the community at large. But also the messaging behind it got a little confusing because while there's a moratorium, that doesn't mean that your rent's not going to be due at some point in time. So I think there were some challenges on how but how the message went out, and it didn't come out clear enough for people to understand this is a time for me to be able to take a step back, sharpen up my pencil and my budget, connect to more resources, get caught up, not I'm just not going to pay it all and I'm just going to hold out on paying my rent. And that's what a lot of the circumstances happen. You have eviction courts that are still backed up due to issues around the eviction moratorium, and landlords still not made whole for individuals that have been staying in their apartment units for years. So I think going forward, we just have to be careful on how we insert these safety nets for individuals to remain housed and secure, but also making sure that they're getting the support services to help them move forward as well.
Interesting. So you mentioned your relationships, the organization's relationship with landlords.
Mhm.
How
Yes.
about your relationships with developers? Do you have relationships with developers? Do you work on building relationships with developers? How does that work?
So uh, I talked about the Resource Opportunity Center earlier, and the Resource Opportunity Center was a vibrant project that we had that Bruce Gunter and Lori Mills had rehabbed back in 1998. And that building that we were in was a 1930s building. So it got good use between 1998 and 2002. One of the largest homeless shelters in the city or the state, the Gateway Center, opened up shortly thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the partners went into that building. Rapid rehousing went on an uptick. So PCCI moved back into our building, which was the Resource Opportunity Center.
Mm-hmm.
We were in there for many, many years, and then the roof started leaking, and the HVAC system started to tell us that and the building had been used well. So as you're talking about developers, we got an opportunity to think about what we do with this aging building about 5 or 6 years ago. And what we decided was that we were going to repurpose the building with the support of our board. We decided to repurpose that building and partner with an affordable housing developer, which we chose Mercy Housing Southeast. Mercy Housing has been an amazing partner in this journey with us. They have very mission aligned with the work that we do as an organization. And we were able to dream big, and we dreamt big, and we finished and built a 117 unit affordable housing development called Thrive Sweet Auburn. So we are now a co-developer of affordable housing, not to mention all the direct services we provide. So that relationship has grown on us. I think we've learned a lot. We've had an opportunity to double down and really get alongside of the movement of what actually eliminates or resolves someone's homelessness situation. Not only are these services that we're providing do that, but now we're adding to the inventory of affordable housing inventory within the city, which is really powerful, and I think that we're proud of that accomplishment.
Excellent. So, what are the factors that would increase someone's likelihood of being homeless?
Those factors are unique. There really isn't a secret sauce of how individuals may find themselves in a housing unstable situation. If we start with the family, since we had a uptick in families, many of our families are larger families. You've got single moms that have multiple children, and they may have a little one in daycare, and that daycare cost is pulling away from their ability to pay for rent or utilities. Um, we have a high population of families and young people that are within our school systems that are experiencing homelessness. And it's really about um, there's a huge gap between the housing cost and people's wages. Minimum wage has not moved, and but the housing costs have. So how can we fill that gap between the cost of housing, people's earning potential, and the things that they need to do in order to be able to survive, just basic needs stuff. So that's one of the things. I think that there's a huge disparity between the cost of living and what a livable wage is. And that is one of those levers that can push someone into homelessness. Um, Other levers could be mental health or substance abuse. And one thing about mental health and substance abuse is that people may not realize that those things can be a, it could be triggered when your homelessness experience begins as a coping mechanism. So you may not have been using substances or had any type of mental health prior to you becoming homeless, but then you become homeless and you start to cope with your homelessness situation on the street, which then introduces illicit and illegal drugs.
Right.
Those drugs could then flip a switch that now, turns on or activates this gene of mental health that may have been deeply embedded inside of you, but was dormant. So, like, all of these things are factors that people don't necessarily realize when they may be walking downtown and they may see someone who's housing insecure, may not know their story, but then we put this assumption on everybody that they're lazy or they've got a substance abuse disorder. There's a combination of a lot of things that could catapult someone into homelessness, to include a medical emergency
Right.
and an outrageous healthcare bill that now is garnishing your wages. So we see all of those things. We see, the mental health and substance abuse, all the way to an educated person who has a financial crisis that's put them in a circumstance that they need a little help.
Understood.
Yeah, and for me, and I've told you this a bazillion times, but when I joined the board and saw the initiative to actually build affordable housing, not just like, oh, we can't house anybody today because there's nothing available. Like, we're gonna dig our shovels in
Yes.
and build affordable housing. That's when I really became passionate about PCCI and the work of the organization, because there's something really special about being engaged with people who are looking to solve problems. And 117 units is a nice step in that direction. And I know at the beginning of this journey, you were ready to replicate it.
We were.
Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I think the need is there.
Yeah.
I think we also need to look at potential, like, rehab projects. There's a lot of inventory, dilapidated homes, apartment complex that have been abandoned. Really doubling down and trying to reactivate those, I think, is important. But as I mentioned before, we've got to work it from both angles. Building housing is long game. We've also have to work on some short game solutions that are going to resolve the crisis that we see right here in today.
Yeah. So talk about homelessness prevention. So obviously having affordable housing stock is a big component of that. What other aspects of prevention can be used to help keep people off the streets?
So, when I first started with PCCI, there was a program called HPRP, Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing. It was a combination of both of these interventions that were working kind of in a they were working together, right? They were working parallel, and having that blend worked well during that time. But when we got this uptick in rapid rehousing, a lot of the prevention assistance went away. Now we're starting to see that trickle back in, and I think we're starting to see it because of those anomalies like the 14% increase in family homelessness. And making sure that homeless prevention is a part of your toolkit is really an important aspect of your homeless service ecosystem and support services track, because you're going to have people that are going to slip through the middle. And a lot of these families that are episodically homeless that may just need a little bit of injection, that's exactly what that product is there for. So we have already started to grow our space and programs in prevention, because we feel like that there needs to be a balance between you're literally homeless and you are needing all of the myriad of services, and or if I just had a first month's rent and security deposit, or if you can just catch me up on these 2 electric bills that I'm behind on, I'll be good to go. So I think having the combination of those both really balance out your community's approach to resolving people wherever they're at and whatever circumstance they may be experiencing at that time.
Yeah, and that really is like my car needs repair work.
Exactly.
And of course, today, I can't afford gas for the month,
hmm
which really does speak to how vulnerable people are in that middle space.
People are going to pay for the lesser bills first before they pay their rent. So if we can help fill the gap on the smaller chunks, then they would be more responsible for paying the bigger chunk. But they're going to say, I'm going to pay for gas. I'm going to get my car fixed so I can get to work.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that they're going to pay is their rent. We want their mindset to kind of shift.
Mm-hmm.
Pay your rent first, and then not rely on, but seek out other supports that can help with these smaller chunks, because those smaller chunks are easier to help with. If you get behind on your rent and those fees start to compound, that's a bigger challenge for organizations to be able to resolve.
Yeah. So, what other innovations are happening in the field? And I'm kind of going to lead this question with the pilot project that y'all did with direct cash
Of
transfers.
course.
Talk to us about what sort of innovations are happening in the field and what you're seeing.
So, as you mentioned, direct cash transfers, that has been something that we've piloted in the past, and it really is an idea that helps bridge that income gap for individuals. And we've wrapped around an evaluation around it to ensure that people recognize that people aren't just taking the funds that we're providing and spending them on things that are not necessities or that are not basic needs. A lot of times folks are paying for, gas or food, things that they actually need, and it helps to fill the gap. So that direct cash program, I think, is something that's growing. There's a lot of advocates right now they're having conversations on the Hill about guaranteed basic income. So I think if we can make some progress on those type of ideas, they will create some better outcomes for individuals who just may not be able to work. Other innovative ideas that are coming out now are around like bonds, baby bonds, to assist people in short-term financial crises, and then really changing their mindset about how you use lending to be able to support some of your short-term needs, and then exercising that idea around budgeting. So those are some creative solutions. Really trying to one of the things I'm working on now is bridging the gap between education and housing stability, and using a pathway of education to help people increase their earning potential to then fill that gap of the cost between housing and what they actually make. We can't change what the housing costs are, right? So the landlords are going to set their prices. Inflation has a lot to do with that. but we can help people get access to certifications or job training, credentials, even a 2-year degree that then puts them in this category where they can earn more money. So that's really where my mind is now. How can we create housing stability through education?
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about funding. Earlier, you were talking earlier about the influx of money you received during COVID. A lot of nonprofits received money. I know I allocated a lot of money
Oh,
to
yeah.
nonprofits when I was in office, but that funding source is gone. So what are your funding sources now? How do you primarily get your funding sources and keep doing the work that you're doing?
So the majority of our funding now continues to come from HUD. We also have a significant amount of funding from the VA and private corporations and philanthropy have filled the gap of about 20%. So we've
Okay.
got about 20% of our budget is coming from philanthropy, private foundations, corporations, which is quite impressive for a nonprofit. So we continue to need support that's flexible. While the federal dollars are important in providing support to the work that we do on a day-to-day basis, flexible dollars are really where we can start to think outside the box, create new boxes, and really dream big on how we can be innovative for longer impact, deeper impact, and bigger community change. So it's an important aspect of running a business.
Mhm.
While we are a nonprofit, we are running a business
Right,
that
exactly.
is and we have to run it well in order to ensure that we continue to be viable for the future and that we continue to be seen as a good steward of the resources.
Very
And
good.
and just to drive that point home, the number I heard on our last board meeting was how many cents of the dollar goes directly to service?
Oh, it's about 95%.
Yeah.
So
That's
95,
great.
95 cents on the dollar goes directly to our consumers, the individuals we serve in the community. So we have a very, very low overhead for our organization.
Yeah.
Good.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah.
All right. So on the topic of federal funding, I will never forget the call I got from Margaret, your co-CEO that day, January 28th, 2025, shortly after Trump took office. He announced that he was halting all federal grant programs, which included HUD funding and a lot of the financial support that PCCI receives. How did that end up ultimately affecting the organization?
So it was quite the shock when that legislation came out, really to just change and pivot the prioritization of funding that supported organizations like PCCI and many others across the country. That legislation and the policy shifts basically were requiring organizations to flip upside down and go from a permanent supportive housing provider or rapid rehousing to a transitional housing provider. And then it added all of these other requirements for individuals that we were serving, required participation, drug testing, collaboration and cooperation with law enforcement, a lot of things that don't necessarily embody a housing first approach or trauma informed care. So there was some lawsuits that were set up and led by the National Alliance to End Homelessness as well as the National Low Income Housing Coalition, that they were able to halt that policy change in new legislation. Funds were then released, and the grants that we had already been awarded were honored. So that took us through, it will take us through about this time next year. So around June or July of next year, we'll be back in the same circumstance where we have to then reapply for the funds that are going to support the continuation of the work we do. That will be coming out within the next week or two.
Right.
It's called a NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunities. Every HUD funded, federally funded organization across the country that is a rapid rehousing provider will have to respond to that particular NOFO. And that NOFO is going to basically be the playbook of what services are going to look like going forward. we're going to either revert back to what we saw a little snapshot of in the previous year, or there may be opportunities for things to shift, level out, and stay the same. I'm hopeful, but I'm not convinced we're not going to be up for another fight.
Wow.
And okay, so it hasn't been released yet.
It'll be released in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So, but we anticipate that being a transitional housing and public safety approach versus housing first approach.
Correct. It's going to mirror what we saw earlier this year.
Yeah.
Most likely. So most likely the National Alliance for End Homelessness, National Low Income Housing Coalition, there's going to have to be a lot of advocacy on the local level to ensure that these changes don't remain. Because if they do, it's going to be catastrophic to communities across the country.
Right. Right. So let's play that out for a second. If it does, if that holds, how will this affect the work of PCCI?
We're at risk of losing pretty much all of our programs, and then having to then compete against permanent supportive housing providers to be a transitional housing program. So yeah, we could lose 75% of our federal funding, and we may only be able to recoup 15 or 20% if we are lucky enough to make the threshold for a transitional housing provider. So in essence, it could put PCC out of business.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at that number that you quoted earlier, that 1,600 clients a year that you're serving, I mean, that's a big number of people who potentially would not be served.
A lot of people won't be served. A lot of landlords who were getting tenant-based rent assistance won't be receiving that money anymore. A lot of affordable housing developments who were relying on project-based rental assistance, they're going to be at jeopardy of not having the ability to even close the deal. So yeah, it's catastrophic. There's going to be more people that are going to be experiencing homelessness as a result of this policy shift.
And it really, not to get on my soapbox, which I end up doing a lot of our episodes, but it also does not, it does not address the fact that we have a large population that we talked about a minute ago who are in that middle ground, who are income, their income does not match their cost of living, who don't need support services.
Yes,
They really need more money.
they do. Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult for communities, service providers, business owners, investors, developers. This is not just a homeless services. It's going to be a trickle effect into public private industries as well.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that we won't take this hard turn, but if we do, we're just have to be prepared to go dormant or shift to other types of programs, consolidate organizations, maybe coming together. So all of those things are things that we're exploring because we want to make sure we're nimble when the page turns.
Yeah, or rely more heavily on private dollars.
That's correct. Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds ominous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
Well,
been talking about this fiscal cliff for a long time.
Oh my goodness.
We have been, yes.
Okay, well let's turn you back to something a little more promising. You mentioned Thrive Sweet Auburn,
Yes.
so I'd love for you to articulate more, expound more on what that is.
So Thrive Sweet Auburn allowed us to partner with Mercy Housing Southeast to create this 117 units of affordable housing. So embedded in the 117, you have 23 units of permanent supportive housing for those individuals that I talked about earlier that have a long history of homelessness and also that disabling condition. One of the things that we did is we curated specific partners to be under this roof. We really wanted to replicate what we were doing back in 1998 at the Rock, at the Resource Opportunity Center, this one-stop shop place where we had a culmination of community partners that can come in and address the needs of any person that may walk through the door. So we replicated that same type of model and have created this ecosystem of community and partners that include PCCI. We continue to do our housing work out of this location. We have First Step Staffing, one of the largest nonprofit staffing organizations that is headquartered at Thrive Suite Auburn. So they provide staffing, but also connections to Social Security disability benefits for individuals that are looking to get approved for that. We have a partnership with Open Hand Atlanta. So Open Hand Atlanta provides health education to individuals to ensure that they can match any type of medical diagnoses with the appropriate food that helps to mitigate any type of exacerbation of their medical issues. So if you've got diabetes, we're going to provide you with a specific menu to help ensure that you're compliant with your plan. We have a partnership with Our House. Our House provides preventative health for individuals that live at Thrive. So they do monthly health screenings to ensure people are actually connected to some type of physician or primary care. So all of those partners are under one roof and providing complementary services to individuals that are experiencing homelessness, housing insecurity, or just anybody who may be walking by that might need a little bit of resources.
Excellent.
Is Thrive Suite Auburn at capacity currently?
So we're almost to capacity. We're probably about 86% or 90% occupied. We have some 80% units. So the makeup of those units are we've got the true affordable units at 30% and 60%, but then we also have some 80% units there. So the 80% units, we were having some trouble getting leased up, but we've made some good progress. So the affordability level is there. And I think that's one thing just to point out too for your listeners. When you're talking about housing affordability, it's important that you challenge what that really means when you're hearing people discuss housing affordability. Because housing affordability can mean 80 to 120% of the AMI, which really does not help resolve the circumstances of the individuals that I've just talked about. So housing affordability, in order for it to really be meaningful, we need it at the 30 to 60% level. And that's where Thrive has the majority of their units, is at the 30 to 60%. And 100% of those are leased up.
Yeah. And just for the more the listeners who don't know, AMI is
Area median income. So that's like the threshold that basically governs how much you can make in order for you to be able to qualify for a particular unit. And then based off of that amount, you may only be paying 30% of your total income towards your rent amount.
And right now, AMI is around,
For a single person, it's probably short of $20,000.
Yeah.
In order to qualify for like your 30% unit. The 60% AMI is obviously higher than that. It's probably closer to 35 to 40,000. But for someone who's looking for a 30% unit, your income would have to be less than about $20,000 a year.
Yeah. And then, of course, for a family of four,
It'll be higher than
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that ensures that people are paying 30% of their income towards their rent amount, which nowadays that's probably not many people.
Yeah.
But from a mathematical perspective, we want to ensure that people have enough money to be able to take care of their other financial obligations as well.
Yeah. So you mentioned at the beginning that PCCI formed out of the same time period as the Olympics.
Yes.
And now, of course, we're approaching the World Cup.
We are.
So what is the city of Atlanta doing to manage, what activities are they doing when it comes to homelessness prevention leading up to the World Cup to make Atlanta the shining city that we know it is?
So Atlanta's been shining before the announcement of the World Cup, and the work that homeless services providers and the continuum of care was going on well before the World Cup decided to come to Atlanta. So we're just really forging forward and continuing the work that we were already doing. The World Cup obviously brings more spotlight on the work that we're doing, but we're just doubling down on the initiatives, the creativity, the innovative ways the system changes that we were doing in the past. So the biggest initiative right now is called Downtown Rising, and that's led by the Atlanta Continuum of Care Partners for Home. Really just moving more of their resources and time to outreach and engagement of individuals that are on the street, under bridges and encampments, making sure that they have a pathway out of homelessness through permanent housing supports. So it's really the same idea that we were doing in the past, just street to home. We've got outreach teams that are out in the community. They're connected to individuals who are going to get them document ready, make sure that they have a driver's license, a birth certificate, social security card, all of those things that you're going to need in order to apply for an apartment anyway. They get connected to those vital records, and then they're at the same time connected to a supportive housing organization, very similar like PCCI. So we're a participant in this work as well. And then we are helping them get attached to a permanent housing unit and getting them moved in, getting them comfortable in their new space, and then getting connected to those resources that are going to help them be able to maintain in the housing going forward. If we find that some individuals have a higher acuity, meaning that they have some other barriers to housing stability, to include mental health, substance abuse, low income, no work history, then we may refer those individuals to permanent supportive housing. So then they have a little bit more case management support and a longer runway to be able to stabilize. So it's working well. We've seen, I think, the numbers they're saying is that we've housed over 400 people. We're going to continue to double down on those investments. Partners for Home is now also moving forward with a prevention initiative that we're also a part of, and making sure that we're balancing this approach between the individuals that are clearly on the street and outside against people who are maybe doubled up or in those hotels or within 14 days of eviction. So the combination of both of those efforts are going along well, and it is going to bode well for the city as we continue to sharpen our pencil and create systems and solutions to end the homeless chapter for many individuals that are experiencing it. But this work was already going on before the Olympics came. So I just want to make sure people are clearly understanding that this is not new. This is a continuation of the great things that the city and all the service providers have already been doing.
And it will continue after the World Cup.
It will. It will. I think personally that homelessness can be ended. And the way that can be ended is not that you won't see an individual or a family that's experiencing homelessness on the street. It'll be that for every person who comes through the system, that there is an agency, an organization, or a resource that they can attach to that gets them out of their homeless situation. So that's what we call, in as a social service provider, functional zero, right? There's one difference between I'm not going to see any homeless individuals or any people who are experiencing homelessness, but if there's more outputs in your system than there are people coming in, then you've created a good system that's going to help resolve those circumstances. Quite frankly, the VA has done it. So in many communities across the country, veteran homelessness is ended because there's more resolutions than there are people coming into the system. Every person that comes in, there's a match for them on the backside. So I think we can get there, but we need a little more. We need some more tools in our toolkit.
Yeah. Well, and if we can make a veteran homelessness functionally zero, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to think we can do that for the other demographics.
That is true. Yeah, I believe it.
All right. So what is happening June 23rd?
So June 23rd, we have our third annual leadership gathering and breakfast for Housing, Hope, and Resilience. This year's theme is called Housing Works, which we clearly believe that housing does work. We've got a great panel of presenters. We've got a distinguished keynote address that's going to be from Dr. Shannon Self-Brown. She's a professor at Georgia State University. We have Wells Fargo, Ty Roberson, that's going to be moderating our panel. And we've got a wonderful panel of experts to include the Executive Director at Partners for Home, Catherine Vassell. We have Amelia Nickerson from First Step Staffing, Eric McGee from Georgia Department of Education. We have a person with lived experience as well. And we're very, very excited for the panel. It's going to be at Georgia Power headquarters. Doors open at 8 o'clock. Program starts at 9. We have a musical guest, so we've got some live jazz that will be playing at the beginning, and we'll be serving
Nice.
breakfast as well. So we welcome all to really be a part of the conversation to help us move the solutions forward, but also support our organization as we turn the page and work on the next chapter of our growth.
Yeah, and
Outstanding.
it is a fundraiser.
It is. So yes, donations, sponsorships, all of those things are welcome, which can be found on our website, pccihome.org.
Awesome.
A lot to consider. So let's shift gears a little bit and go a little lighter. Tell us about your family. Tell us about you and your family.
So I'm originally from Philadelphia. I've been in Atlanta since 2005. Married for almost 18 years.
Congratulations.
To my wonderful wife, Alina. We met at school together at Florida State University. So we've been moving along since then together. We've got one daughter, 12-year-old. She's growing fast and really testing my patience, but it's been a good journey.
They do that. They like to do that.
It's been a good journey. So yeah, we're a dream team where we work well together. Excited just to continue to dream big and execute. So yeah, that's my life partner.
Excellent.
Nice. Okay. So we always talk about our favorite movies and TV shows. This weekend I watched True Romance again. I hadn't seen it since it came out in the 90s.
I've never seen that.
Okay, so it's Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette,
Okay.
which I remembered them being in it, but the supporting cast was ridiculous. Samuel L. Jackson, Christopher Walken,
Oh wow.
James
check that out.
Gandolfini.
Huh.
Like every time they cut away to a new shot, there was some other supporting actor
Okay.
who I was like, how come this movie's not like...
So are you recommending it? Emily?
No, not for you.
What do you mean not for me? What do you mean? What's wrong with me? No, never mind. We won't go there.
Anyway, so Jimmy, do you have a favorite movie
Favorite movie
or a favorite TV show?
I watch a lot of real TV, not reality TV, real TV. So like I'm a First 48
Okay.
type of guy. I don't watch that much TV though. So that's probably the bulk of my TV.
Okay.
And I like, SVU. I'm a criminal justice guy. So I anything with crime and so yeah.
Cops?
I used to watch Cops. Yes, I did. I did used to watch Cops.
I
I wanted to be a police officer at one point, but I'm in social work now.
Boys, bad
Yes,
boys.
exactly. What you gonna do?
Oh my God.
Yes.
So my husband and I used to watch the Cops special on every Christmas Eve. They would have a Cops special called Ho Ho Ho.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
Okay, Emily.
good times.
So, no, you're not a big TV watcher, but I'm gonna ask this question anyway because we pose it to everybody. Do you have any celebrity crushes or anybody that you're kind of, famous that you're kind of sweet on that you want
Not really. I don't.
to share? Okay.
So, but I think if anyone that I would lift up would be my amazing team at PCCI. Like
Okay.
all of those individuals that work for PCCI are celebrities to me, and they're amazing individuals that sacrifice a lot. They come in every day with a great spirit, a smile, to do a very difficult job. So those are my celebrities, and I often take selfies with all of them when we're matching because I feel like that just gives us a time to connect,
Right.
and really make sure that they feel appreciated and welcomed for all the work that they do. That's why I get up early in the morning, and that's kind of my energy pill that helps me get through the day is the staff. So
Excellent.
they are.
Excellent.
You stole it from me because I was gonna share that as one of my closing thoughts. Just how amazing the staff is,
They
and
are.
we're really fortunate as a board because we get to have our staff and board retreat. So I've
Yes,
gotten to know a lot of the staff members, and they really have put all of their heart and energy into their career.
they do.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
So you have a big responsibility and a role that you have. So we're wondering, how do you relax? How do you take care of yourself, attend to yourself?
I do a lot of running. I'm actually training for the Peachtree Road Race right now.
Okay. All
And this will be my second 10K that I've ever done before.
right.
The first one I did was in San Francisco, which was quite painful. But I'm excited. So I do a lot of, fitness, travel. While my wife says I need to pay somebody, but I like to cut my grass. Uh, just put in my earbuds and just,
Knock it out, huh?
yeah. So yeah, those are the things I kind of do and then just spending time with my family and my
Yeah.
daughter. She's into theater and the arts, so checking out her shows and supporting her and her craft.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, good luck training for the Peachtree. I used to
Yes.
run that a lot for my knee injury, but I used to run a lot of
That what is it?
10Ks.
Heart attack hill. Is that what we say?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it gonna be?
yeah.
It's gonna be as bad as it sounds?
I don't know, man. It's been years since I've run it, so
Okay.
I assume it's as bad. But
Okay. Okay.
I do miss running, but my knee's an issue. So okay, all
Well,
right.
the 5K we do.
We do
Our
an
our
annual 5K.
other
Yes.
fundraiser
Mhm.
every year is a 5K,
It is.
and walking a 5K is about all I've got in me anymore between my knees and, you know.
I feel my knees starting to tell me that this may be the end of the road soon.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's not fun getting older.
no, not at all.
All right. So for anybody who's interested in a career in nonprofit services, what advice would you have for them?
Oh, that's a good one. You know, while I've been with PCCI for 18 years, I've been in social services for probably 25 to 30. And while it's not the biggest paycheck, the reward of helping people um, in some of the darkest and deepest times of their lives, I think is more rewarding than if you were maybe sitting up in a corporate office with free lunch at the buffet every day. So I think that's something that people just have to understand this is hard work, not necessarily hard work. It's hard work, and if you are doing it for that reason,
Mhm.
it will continue to provide that reward tenfold. Um, it's when we were talking about the celebrities a little while ago. While celebrities can feel good about that they have entertained people well, or that maybe their song had resonated with someone, the tens of thousands of people whose lives that we've touched over the last almost 20, well, we're going to 30 years now, like that's a pretty big accomplishment.
Mhm.
And a lot of people who may say that it may have been Steve or Emily that crossed paths with me that was a pivotal moment in my life that I was able to achieve the next great thing or really push through this crisis. And those are the things that I think are the most meaningful when you're in the social service space, because it was my high school guidance counselor to this day that created a pivotal moment for me in my life. And if he wasn't there at that time, I could have gone a totally different direction. So like having a person like that, or to be in a space like that where you can be that person for someone, is huge. And it's something that is, it takes a lot. It brings emotion to me even talking about it, because people don't understand how much influence they have over the possibility of success for somebody's life. So we don't take this work for granted, and we appreciate that people allow us to be a part of their lives so they can move on to the next chapter and have the ability to thrive.
Excellent. Well, as we kind of get ready to wind down, in addition to what you've just stated, is there anything else you'd like to share for the benefit of our audience?
No, I just appreciate you all allowing for this platform for organizations like PCCI, myself, to talk about the work that we do. You know, please do visit our website. We have a lot of data and information on there that just really helps you understand the impact of our work.
Why don't you state the website again,
It's
please?
pccihome.org.
Okay.
We're right downtown Atlanta, underneath the iconic billboard, the Coca-Cola billboard on Grady Curve. So pop in. We've got a new cafe vendor starting in a couple weeks. So if you want to come and grab a macchiato or a bagel or something, stop on in, and I'm always there to say hi.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks again, Steve.
Jimiyu, for sharing your insights with us today. It was extremely informative. Hopefully it was a little bit of fun for you. And we really appreciate the work that you're doing.
Yeah,
It's really good work. Emily, thank you again for sharing the foxhole with me. Do you have any closing thoughts as we wind down?
I just want to say again, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and give a shout out to Margaret Schulke, your co-CEO,
That's right.
who's been doing this work longer than I've lived in Atlanta. So it's just an extraordinary organization, and while not necessarily a household name,
That's right.
maybe one day we can get ourselves there. And I'll see you at the leadership breakfast.
That's right. I'll see you then.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Emily. Thank you for your service in this space too. I know you're very passionate about it, and it comes through. One thing though, I'm not going to let this go. I think what you said about true romance not being for me, I think that's going to make me want to see it even
Well,
more.
this
So
is I know you well enough.
I'm just
you're gonna watch
saying
it
you
now.
shouldn't have threw the gauntlet down. So
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out
Yeah.
there. Okay, all right. Well, thanks again to our great team here at the Scottdale Podcast Cafe for doing such an amazing job in supporting us. And for our audience, if you have any ideas about possible guests or future topics, please visit our website and drop us a note at servesomebodypodcast.com or via social media. And also note that our episodes are available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. We know that time is the most valuable resource that any of us have. So we sincerely thank you for spending some of your precious time giving us a listening ear. We will never take that for granted. These are indeed serious times, so until the next time, just remember to think for yourself and don't fall for the show. Goodbye.
You're gonna serve somebody in a booth.